you talked about how communications is such a big factor in stakeholders, in relationship management in general. Was there a time where you really had to handle conflict, either a hybrid setting or in your big tech setting? And how big usually the teams are when you have to handle these conflicts?
Yeah, I'll give two examples, one in startup and one in big tech. So in big tech, I've had to own the Google booth at Game Developer Conference. So to set the context, Game Developer Conference is the biggest app developer conference in the US. We have about 50,000 attendees, and my job was to build a Google booth at the event and then make sure that all of our teams are represented there. We had 9 different teams that wanted to be at the booth. So teams like AdWords, AdMob, Google Play, Google Tango, Google VR. I had a $250,000 budget for the booth. Part of my role was to make sure that every team also contribute some of their budget to the booth, because the main budget is coming from AdMob, but then we're also sharing the booth with everyone else. And I remember the first meeting was pretty chaotic. I basically said, okay, let's just get everyone in a room and get everyone's input. It was really hard to book a room, get everyone's availability, because there were 9 representatives. But finally, after 2 weeks, we were able to find a 1 hour slot. And I remember I kicked off the meeting saying, hey, guys, we're going to have this booth. Can everyone chip in and also share feedback? The dangerous part was I asked for feedback. And once that word came out, everyone had all sorts of ideas. Some teams were like, oh, actually, can we just pay based on square footage? This booth is 5,000 square feet. Can we just pay for 100 square feet? And the other teams were like, we actually only need to use the booth for part of the week. Can we just pay for that? And I'm just thinking, yeah, this Google booth will look quite weird if we divvied it up like property, right? People also had different goals. Some teams were like, we want a big space to do demos. Other teams were like, we need some meeting rooms. We need a couch and a table. And then other teams were like, we just need a place to showcase and give away swag, right? So I'm thinking, okay, every team has different goals and they want to pay differently. This meeting is not productive. So I actually ended the meeting early. I said, hey guys, let me think this through and then I'll arrange the next meeting. And from that, I realized that to make a big decision with many different stakeholders, I realized that I can't get everyone in the same room without sitting down with each team individually first. That way, I can actually hear their feedback and negotiate with them individually, and then bringing them together to agree on a bigger direction. That's what I did. I just grabbed time with each representative separately. First, I listened to their feedback. And then secondly, I reorient them back to the customer. I said, hey, first of all, thank you for sharing your goals. We can't optimize for all of your goals. We can maybe optimize for your first goal and maybe your second goal, because we want to make sure that the customer has a seamless experience of the booth. Also, I told them we want to present a united front as Google and not just different product teams trying to do their own thing. Then I also help them visualize, yeah, the booth will look very weird if we have different square feet based on different team needs. So I convinced them to say, you have to commit a minimum of a certain amount for a minimum amount of space. Secondly, I said, we need to have shared spaces where you can do presentations, sales calls, and swag giveaway. These spaces will be shared. And then at the end of the day, I said, it's not about your product. It's about how Google serves app developers. We can bucket all of our product offerings under develop with Google, grow with Google, and earn with Google. So you can build apps with Google, you can get users with Google, and then you can earn money with Google. So those are the 3 pillars. And I said, all of your product names will be secondary. Once I got buy-in from everyone, 9 different teams, I would say probably 9 45-minute meetings. Then I had the final meeting with everyone. And that meeting was 180 from the first meeting. I basically said, hey, guys, this is the plan. We're going to have a booth. Each team is going to have their own little stall, and we're going to have a shared space. And then at the top, we're going to say, develop, grow, and earn with Google. And I created a 3D visual of it. And then everyone was like, yeah, it looks good. And everyone was able to commit the budget that I wanted, which is to make up the $250,000 budget as a whole. And the event went pretty smoothly. We got good leads, got good brand exposure, and the feedback from the teams were great. They wanted to do it again next year, and they liked the new format. Because previous years, people were paying based on square footage, and we just had a booth that looked like it was 5 different companies because each team had their own little isolated space. That was my experience at Big Tech.